Today we have a very special episode. We have Thia Velinor with us. We're going to be talking about wholesaling and business building. Stay tuned.
So welcome to another episode of Same Page. I am Linal Semejis, and this is my lovely wife.
Sahasa Measures.
And today we're very excited to have Thia Velinor with us. She's a wholesaler out of Toronto, and we actually met her actually like a little over a year ago in a workshop, a cash flow tribe workshop. And then since then, her business has just totally skyrocketed. So, how about you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself, Thia?
Yes, as you said, Thia Velinor here. I am 35. I live in Toronto, as you guys mentioned, and totally learned about this whole wholesaling strategy pretty much around the same time that we actually met through the Cash Tribe meeting. Otherwise, I had no idea. And once I heard about this whole wholesaling, I was like, what? Like, I need to do this. So yeah, that's kind of, what sparked my interest in getting started with the wholesaling. And I don't know, do you guys want me to go right into?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about what is wholesaling, first of all.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people don't know. Like I said, I had no idea what this thing was. So essentially, wholesaling is when you go and get a property under contract. So you'll write a purchase and sale agreement. You'll offer the seller maybe $100,000 for their property. If the seller then agrees to your terms and price, now you have the deal under contract because they've now accepted your offer. And at that point, you go ahead and find another investor who's interested in buying the deal off of you. So you make your money as a wholesaler on the negotiation end. So like I said, you got it for $100,000. Maybe it's worth, $160,000, as an after renovation value. So, you have a spread in there. So maybe you might sell your contract for $10,000. And that's kind of where so now you're selling it for $110,000. So you have it locked up under contract for $100,000. You've added $10,000 and you sell it to another investor. So you're essentially playing the middle person in the deal. You find the deal, you find an investor, you make money in the spread.
Very nice. And what is it about this strategy that I guess sparked an interest in you wanting to actually create a business out of it?
Well, Leonard, I had no money. I'm like, I have to do this real estate thing and I don't have any money. So that was the first thing. I was like, what? You don't need money to do this thing? There's no way. So when Cashflow Tribe had the it was like a free webinar that they had.
Right, yeah.
And after that, I was like, oh, wow, like this thing is real. So then they had another one that was paid like a month later, which I like scraped together and went. It was like $500 for the weekend, 2 days. And after that, it was literally a light bulb moment. I was like, I can do this. I think I can do this. So a month later, let's say June now of 2020, I registered Velinor Properties as a business, which I didn't need to do right away, but for whatever reason, I went ahead and did this and started, putting all the tools that I've been learning through cash flow and the Matt McKeever channel and putting that into action. And that's kind of what I did for pretty much 6 months, because it wasn't until December, just before Christmas, that I was able to wholesale my first deal. Okay. And once that happened, I was just like, oh my God, I just made $10,000. Like it's unbelievable. Even when I think back to it and to see like what's possible, it's crazy. So once that happened, January occurred and I was just getting deals like left, right, and center. People were coming to me with deals. I'm helping them wholesale them. And then I did 6 deals in January. I'm like, oh my God, in 2 months, I've just done 7 deals. Like, is this, I'm like pinching myself. Like, is this real? Yeah. Cause I had just was on a call before in December with my accountability ladies. And I'm like, I was taking some time off work because my mom passed away last February, like February 2020.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thanks. Yeah. So I had taken some time off and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm heading to this walkthrough. I hope like someone wants this deal, because I can't even imagine having to go back to my desk. Like, I'm depressed even thinking about it.
Right.
Like, it's like that last you're like right at the top, and you could turn away and not know what's about to happen for you.
Mhm.
It was like one of those moments. But sure enough, was able to get it wholesaled, and like I said, then did 7 or 6 in January,
Mhm.
and to date, I think this year I think I just did my 21st deal. We just covered the 2 deals, so it's
That's wicked.
insane. Yeah. And then being able to like accumulate doors along the way, my path crossed with another investor who purchased the deal, and we just kind of hit it off. And she was like, you don't always have to take the wholesale deal. Like, I'm open to giving you equity instead of, taking the fee. And I was like, oh, equal partnership. Okay. Like, that sounds good.
Mhm.
And I did that 3 times with her. And now we have 17 doors. So, and I don't have any money in the deal. I just found the deal.
Yeah.
They'll flip it and do the whole bit. So it's honestly been, I feel like this is a dream come true. I've thought about this for so long. I just didn't know what avenue, like what vehicle is going to bring me to like where I want to be, and then somehow here I am.
You know what? That's amazing. And you said so many key things here, and I'm gonna try to point, them out. But like the first thing I want to mention, so you didn't get your first deal until 6 months down the line, right?
6 months, yeah.
Right. So a lot of people when they start a new venture, it doesn't work out for a month. They're like, okay, well let's try a second month, right? It doesn't work out for the second month. You're like, maybe I should go back to my job, and maybe I should reduce my hours because maybe I should think of something else. So what was your mindset like when you decided to pursue this, even though you didn't see any results? And I would argue that 6 months down the line is fairly quick still, because some people it's like it's a lot of time. I'm not just saying about wholesaling, but just in business in general. But what was your mindset like to keep going and pursuing that dream?
You know what? I've been one of those people that have tried things for like a couple months because I'm doing it for the money, but what was different about this is I actually enjoyed the process. Like, I'm not getting paid $1, but I'm scraping Kijiji for like 13 hours a day. And I don't mind. Like, I'm watching TV and I'm scraping. I'm having a glass of wine and I'm scraping. Like, it's just, I just kind of really incorporated it into my life. So, I mean, for me, I didn't mind the process. And at that moment is when I really, really, truly understood you can't just do it for the money. Because yes, wholesaling makes great money, but no one's going to do anything for free, essentially, for 6 months. You're driving to the properties. You're doing it. It takes a lot,
Right.
but I really enjoyed it. And I just knew that this was my thing. I was like, I finally found it. This is it. And I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, even people around me, and I was like, hey, I know you have money in like your RSPs or, trying to talk to me. They're like, I just want to see you like do something first. And, they don't mean anything by it, but like, I get it, and even when I got the first deal, like I had someone that I know tell me like, wow, I didn't think you were going to get it done. But, I was like, wow, well, okay.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of like naysayers around you, like whether they're like openly saying it, they might just like, your job, like it's not a bad job. So I was working at like CAMH. And, it's like going that route. I'm just like, yeah, no, it's just not for me. Like working until I'm 65, I've always known like it just wasn't for me. So now that I found something I don't mind doing and, like I actually enjoy the process, it really made sense. So my mindset was just at one of these deals has to go through. One of them. They have to, so you just tying them up. And each time you're getting better and knowing what to look for, better on how to like communicate with the sellers. Cause it's nerve wracking in the beginning, right? You're like, fumbling. So, you're just kind of creating your own lane, for your wholesaling business. And that's kind of what I did. And I was just, thankful that it really panned out the way it has.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you're absolutely right. The money can keep you going only for so long, right? When you know your why, and that's really like deeply ingrained into your mind, like why you really want to do this, and sometimes it's even like what you don't want to do that's pushing you to do this is like, I'm not going back to this, so this has to work out, right? You mentioned that now you have 17 doors, so a lot of times like wholesalers, they keep doing it, and that's fine, right? Because money can give you a lot of options. But what made you decide to start holding them? And I think I know the answer, but I want you to tell me like what led you to want to hold certain properties and not pass them along.
Well, I think there's two parts to that. One is the obvious, like the wealth piece. Like I know that that's what real generational wealth, like but that's how it can be built. So I know at some point I'm gonna have to, pivot and start holding some of these properties. And then the other side to that was my mentor. Like when I got my mentor in the beginning, I was like, you know what? I just want to have maybe 5 doors for the year. This is in April. And he's like, five? Why not like 20? Why five? And I
Yeah.
was like, wow. I thought five was like me thinking big, but I was like 20. And now here we are, like 2 months later, 3 months later, and there's 17, well, now 18, because I'm picking up, I did a flyer campaign in Timmins, got a deal for 65K that I'm just going to keep. And this is going to be like my first one that I'm going to BRRRR on my own with no partners.
Nice.
Exciting, but it was just that shift in the mindset there. And I was like, wow, like, why am I thinking so small? Now I'm like 17, like 20 wasn't even big enough,
Right.
So, but yeah, generational wealth and being pushed to, kind of change my thought process with my mentor.
Right.
That's great. Like the reason why I wanted to have you on our channel is the fact that when we had a conversation last time, I just totally love your energy, just such a positive mindset. And so what do you think for you was that turning point, like in December or leading towards December, that just made everything just click?
I went to a mastermind, actually, a cash flow mastermind in October. It was a 2-day, like at a resort, and being there and just talking to the people and hearing the lessons. And there was one that really stands out to me. Like to today, I still have the ribbon that we did like this ribbon cutting to really represent how much time we have, which isn't that much time in life.
Yeah.
And it's still on my mirror in the bathroom. And I was just like, oh my God, like we don't have time. There's days where like through the 6-month process where I'm kind of like taking days off. It's summer. I want to be on a patio. And then, and then you start feeling guilty a bit. You're like, oh, you really should be, so just, putting that into perspective, like, girl, you need to get it done right now. You've been doing it from June. It's October. It's go time. And that was it. And I just kind of turned it up and then was able to pull out the one, and then the others just kind of came rolling.
That's amazing.
Very good.
You mentioned mentorship.
Yes.
Why?
Because I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And like I want to touch base and be, close to someone who's doing it successfully and they're making millions, and like there's just so much I can learn. So for me, I was like, this is a no-brainer. And when I told like just friends like how much I spent, because like over 10 grand, like, and they're like, whoa, like who is he? And I'm like, it's okay, like they don't get it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Experienced person, because in their mind it should be like Tony Robbins. Little do they know, like you'd be paying however much for that. But that's the mindset. And it's like, no, I'm willing to pay this if someone can teach me how I can scale my business. Like it's always about the next, just getting bigger. Like I even had people, kind of mocking me at one sense, like, oh, what's going on with the tribe? I thought you wanted to like buy properties and, and I'm like, I mean, if I want to be a landlord, okay, but like I want to create a business. So it's going to take a little more time. And that's kind of like the scrutiny I'm dealing with from like June to December, right? So, but you just kind of got to keep your head down and, if you want something, you just got to go all in. There's no half-assing it. Excuse my language. It's either go or don't.
Absolutely.
That's it. Seriously.
Yeah. I think like when you have certain goals, it's at least for me, that's something that I practice. It's really important for me to surround myself with people who understand the long-term vision. Because it is very easy to be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to talk about my goals anymore, because like every time I talk about it, people are seeing that I'm not achieving it, right? They don't see, like, if they don't see the reward yet, it's really easy for them to be like, aha, I told you so, right? And sometimes our ego is a little shot. So we're like, okay, well, maybe it's true. Maybe I can't succeed, right? So I'm very careful who I have these conversations with, right? When I tell somebody I want to be a millionaire, when I tell somebody I want to, retire before 65, Although I know it's possible, but we are human, and it does play something. It does something to you when somebody tells you you can't, right? So for sure, the people that don't get it, I don't even entertain that. I don't even have conversations with them. I don't
Hmm.
give them as much as of my time. And I think you probably like through your journey, you're probably so busy with your business anyway that you probably don't have time for these people anymore, right?
It's true. I definitely see them a lot less. And you're right. I had to learn to not tell everybody everything, not everything, but like what's going on. Because if they're not really in line with exactly what you said, with what you have going on, it might come off to them like maybe you're bragging, or you can just see like the disinterest, you know?
Mm.
And it's just like, oh, okay, like I'm excited about it. So you're absolutely right. I definitely see those people less, like nothing against them, but
Of
it's
course.
just other things, you know? So when I see you, I see you. But you're right. You have to protect that for yourself.
And that mentorship, I guess it paid now that they're, okay, it was $10,000, but look how much more money you made, right? So definitely the rewards are exponential.
Exactly. You have to invest in yourself. And that's the biggest thing. Like even when I took that year off and I'm paying for this $500 2-day course, which, my son's dad was like, hey, I'll give you, like he was like, I'm gonna put in on this thing because
Yeah.
he just really believed in me and how passionate I was. He was like, you're gonna sit in front of this computer for 16 hours, so it's 8-hour days. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. Pen and paper, like let's go. He was
Yeah,
like,
Nice.
okay, it's all in. So it's just even having that support too that was helpful. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
that's amazing.
That's great. Now, do you have any other examples of how this whole journey and how this shift in your mindset has impacted your family and your friends?
Yeah, like my family more so like my sister, my eldest sister, she's just so difficult to get through to, and I'm the youngest, so no one wants to listen to me, of course, right? So she was thinking about buying a house, and now I know a little bit. It's been a year and change, but I know a little bit. So
Yeah.
I couple tips, put her on game a little bit. Like maybe you shouldn't buy this new car that you're gonna, and
Right.
maybe you leverage this and do that. And she's like, oh, wow. So the knowledge that I'm gaining, I'm just, really trying to pass on to like my family, my nieces, try to get them involved and let them know, like, you don't have to get your like the 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Like that's just not the time that we're living in anymore. Like you can literally be almost anything you want if you're willing to like sit in front of the computer, figure it out, and just like be creative and get it done. So really just letting them know that as well, like them watching me do it. And
Hmm.
it's just like, who am I? I'm no one special. I just really focused on what I wanted, and I didn't stop until I got it done. And it wasn't easy. Like I said, the 6 month mark, I was like, oh my God, I have to go back to this desk. Like I was gonna throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And kept pushing, kept pushing. And for anyone watching, that's just what I would really, wanna like drill in your brain. Like you might think, this is not gonna work. It's not gonna work. But I'm telling you, you're so close. You
Mm.
have no idea. Because a lot of people quit, right? At month 5, they're just like,
Yeah,
not knowing. Like 4 weeks down the road, you'd be living a completely different life right now. So I stress that to people.
absolutely. I've heard so many stories like yours where it's like that the person that kept pushing versus the person that who didn't and
Mm.
quit at month 4, month 5, and they just didn't know how close they were to gold, right? So it's unfortunate when I see people kind of deviate from their goals just because they face a few obstacles. And trust me, you're gonna face a lot more obstacles in the things that you don't want to do, right? Every day you go in there and you're
Yeah.
like, well, I don't want to do that. I'd rather be doing wholesaling. Yeah, it's hard, but you definitely have to continue and keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so you said you wholesale in Timmins. You sent out flyers in Timmins, and you live in Toronto,
I
correct?
do.
Okay, so walk us through. Let's get to a little bit of like the nitty gritty. Like walk us through what that looks like, because a lot of people think like that's not possible, right? So what does that look like?
Honestly, COVID obviously was so terrible, but pre-COVID, I was going to all of these properties, like driving around. I don't even have an accepted offer, and I'm driving around. It makes sense. Like, where are you going, Thea? Sit down, get this thing under contract, have some like contractual, rights to this property
Mm-hmm.
before you start moving. So COVID happened, and I was like, oh, I can say X, Y, and Z. Obviously, I learned these tips online. Like it's a good, excuse, and it really makes sense. So, I'm just telling these sellers essentially, like, because let me just back it up. They call, right? They get the flyer. They call, like, hey, Velinor Properties, we want you to buy a property. Cool. I go through my spiel of a list of questions that I need to like gather information about the property. We do our due diligence. We come back, and typically I'm like, okay, I want to put an offer. Typically within 24 hours. If I can do same day, same day. So for most people, they're like, well, you haven't even seen this house. Like, why would you want to go ahead? So I just simply tell them, like, because it's COVID, we want to obviously make sure that you and or your tenants are safe, as well as, people on our team. So unless we have an agreement in terms of like this contract, I'm not going to unnecessarily put, people in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have any, rights to the property. And that typically, makes sense for most. And boom. So now I'm able to do it completely virtually. So I typically will then send someone out within like 24 to 48 hours to take some photos of the property. I get the photos. I then create a buyer's package, or I have someone on my team create the buyer's package. And then I have someone else that kind of fields all the Facebook and does all the marketing and the disposition, basically. And then we go ahead and we just assign, and then we're off to the next. So like COVID happening was kind of, I don't want to say a blessing, but like
Okay,
it just
It's kind of okay to say it.
okay. Like it's terrible, but from a business standpoint, like I was able to really grow this 6-figure business during COVID. And because I didn't have to, drive to all these properties and I'm wasting time while I'm doing that because they're hours away, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really how I'm able to do this in Timmins, Cornwall. We have some flyers out in Sudbury. So we're just hitting a few markets here.
Mm-hmm. And why did you decide on those markets?
Because I like to really, maximize my time. So I know that I have buyers in particular areas. So yes, I can, look in all these other areas that I may, like I have a buyer's list, but as you guys know, a lot of tire kickers, it is a lot of time that goes into marketing and speaking to all these people usually for no reason. So if I know that my buyers are actively purchasing, I'm going to zone in on these areas, and it's quick turnovers for me. So that's kind of what I have done. Like one of my buyers probably bought like 5 deals for me, another maybe 3, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm just focusing on them. I get something that makes sense. I, reach out to them and be like, hey, put this on your radar. Is this something you'd be interested in terms of numbers? Then we go get the pictures. So it's like they have time to kind of mull it over in their mind. And then now they have the photos to kind of put it together and then decide if they want to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
And do these buyers, do they see the property, or are they okay buying with just the photos?
A lot of them are okay with buying just the photos. Like eventually, they'll go and check it out. I had a buyer who just went and looked at 2 deals we had in North Bay, but she went out or got property management to go. So it depends. They don't always need to, as long as you have really good pictures. And if you get pictures and walk through video, you're winning. Like feel like they walk the property themselves, which is what you want them to feel like when you're taking these pictures and your video.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that really helps as much as we dove into like the mindset and like, how you persevered and stuff like that. I think a lot of people really want to know. I mean, even if people know, sometimes they don't take action, but it's kind of like the information is there, right?
Yeah.
You can do this, and it's very possible. And I'm glad you broke it down so that anybody who wants to learn how to do this can, start off at least and see how that's working for them. I also find that Toronto, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people buying in Toronto, but a lot of people that we know at least are looking for cash flow, right? And Toronto doesn't have a whole lot of that.
No.
So definitely targeting other markets is very smart. And how did you build your buyers list?
I built my buyers list by just getting a deal, marketing the deal, and collecting all the email addresses essentially. Because I think that's something that a lot of people get hung up on in the beginning, because I know I did. I'm just like, well, how do I know what they want or who's going to buy it? I don't even have 2 people on my buyer's list. And it's like, if you go and you put it in the groups that they need to be in, people are going to ask to see the package.
Exactly.
And now that's black and then remarket to them every time going forward, you know? And I would just recommend once getting started or once you have a system in place, get a CRM. Like I recently got like an actual CRM. And I'm just like, what the hell have you been doing all this time? It just makes life so much easier. It feels like a business. You know, it's not like it's like in my notebook and you're writing it down like, hang on, what is this? You know, flipping through the pages, that was a mess. So it's just to have the structure, you know, that's so important too. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. Don't sleep on the CRMs, guys.
Okay, very cool. So other than having this business grow, what else are you do you inspire to do?
Wow, aside from growing this business, I would love to eventually get to like private lending. You know, I think that's every investor's dream, like just private land and just relax and enjoy life. I want to travel. I want to educate other people, you know, who like look at us that we can do this. Like, again, I'm not a real estate agent. I couldn't even pass the test to like one test. Like I couldn't pass it. I tried it twice. I was like, okay, this is not going to work. And I was so my point is you guys can do it. Anybody can do it. So for me, being able to like go out there and talk to people who look like us and let them know, you know, you don't have like go to college if you want, but just know there's other avenues, you know, anything you want to be, the information is out there. It's the information age now, right? So just really open your mind and do whatever it is you want to do. If it's real estate, you can do it. I would love to, you know, mentor some folks and kind of teach them, you know, the ropes of wholesaling. Because I mean, it's not a secret. The information's out there, but sometimes it's them physically seeing you like in front of them, you know, it's like, really, like you did that? Yeah. And you can do it, you know? So really getting that message out there too is really important to me.
That's so amazing. I think you provided a lot of information about wholesaling itself, but also the mindset that it takes and the mentorship. Definitely, we are big advocates of mentorship. We ourselves have gotten mentors, and we're still getting coached. And I don't think we're gonna stop, you know, until we decide that we know everything, which will never
happen.
So yeah, it's definitely helped us progress too and acquire properties. If anybody wants to reach out to you, they love this interview and they love your energy, how can they do so?
They can find me on Facebook, Thia Velinor, as well as Instagram at Thia Velinor, THIA VELINOR. Yeah, give me a follow, jump in the DMs, introduce yourself. You know, I love networking. That's really what this business is about, right?
Absolutely.
Meeting people and helping people along the way. Like you help, and you just never know down the road, you know what I mean, what that relationship may blossom into. So it's really important to talk to people. So yeah, let's talk, let's connect, let's see how we can grow together. That's what I'm about. So let's do it.
Very nice, very nice. And then speaking of IG, that's kind of like what kind of almost kind of like triggered this conversation right here, is because she started popping up in my feeds.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is Thia doing? Popping up on my feed, like every single time I refresh, she was at the top of it, and she was doing something silly, something very clever. You know what I mean? So obviously, you've like intentionally done that to, you know, put yourself out there, and then obviously I had to reach out just to congratulate you on that, just showing this, just seeing, you know what I mean, like the fruits of your labor.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for reaching out. It's funny because you did tell me that. I was like, perfect, because someone was just like, I haven't seen you in a while. I was like, oh God. I'm like, okay, I need to get back. It's so important. Like you have to be intentional with what you're doing, and that's what I'm focusing more on now, is, you know, putting out content and being present and talking to people, because it's easy to get distracted in life and business, and then you're just like I haven't been on there in like 2 weeks. Like that's not
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure. Instagram, hit me up. Let's connect.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much, Thea. This interview has been great. You guys heard it. Reach out to Thea. We'll put your Facebook and Instagram handles in the comments on YouTube, and
Hmm.
also when we advertise it on Instagram, you'll see it, and we'll tag you. Thanks again for blessing us with your time,
Thank
and
you.
so until next time, don't forget to live your truth.
Bye.
Bye.